All right, it's a Sunday quickie. Hope you're doing great. I had a quirky dream last night that I'm going to try to recall in real time. Hopefully, I can do it justice. It had an interesting ending, I think. Uh, the circumstances were it was modern day now, and I was working my current job, but I was working remotely from the house I grew up in. So, a house that we sold 30 years ago. And I was in my bathrobe and I was working out of my bedroom on the second floor of that house. So immediately, when you're back in your old surroundings, it's a different feeling than where you live in the present, obviously, when the house you grew up in. And my parents were kind of both around, like, but sort of unseen. And my parents split when I was 10, so for them to be kind of in the same house with me being my current age and working out of my old bedroom was just kind of unusual in and of itself. But that's not really the point. So I'm feeling a little maybe frazzled because work is like very busy and there's a lot going on and I'm a little stressed in the dream, which is not too far off from the reality right now. My job is not stressful in the sense that it's like hard to handle, but just the volume of activity right now is just very intense. The days are just full, and at the end, my brain is just like overcooked, and I'm ready for a nap almost every day. And it's just the nature of the busy season of the job that I have now, and then it will calm down when we get later into the fall, and so it's cyclical. So again, in the dream, I'm in my bathrobe, working remotely. I take a break and I go downstairs to get some coffee. And then I think my mom is kind of there and she's kind of saying, hey, don't stress or calm down or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, 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 because I'm running at 1,000 miles an hour. And there's a young boy in the kitchen who I do not recognize. And I can't think of anyone in real life that he correlates with. He was probably maybe 6 or 7 years old, and he had short, blondish brown, straight hair. And he started to cry, and I was not really paying any attention to him because I was wrapped up in my own thoughts. And then my mom again kind of said something like, hey, why don't you, I don't know, like, why don't you spend a few minutes with whatever his name was, which wasn't heard in the dream? Hey, why don't you? And again, I was caught up in myself and I didn't feel like stopping. But then when I did, I slowed down and I put, I just basically tipped my head against the young boy's head. He was sitting in the kitchen and gradually he stopped crying. And then he just started to say really interesting things that a 7 year old wouldn't say. Like, or not usually, like very insightful kind of things. And I wish I could be more specific. I just can't remember. But he was like, basically he was like starting to give insights into life, like this very philosophical kind of spiel while I think he was playing with maybe a toy car or something too. There was some kind of toy, but he was just sort of spouting wisdom like about whatever the meaning of life or learning to enjoy things or whatever it was he was saying. I really wish I could remember. So I started thinking, is this really a 7 year old boy or is this what is this? Like who is this person? And I still don't know. But the the most interesting thing that he said was right at the end of the dream. he said something like, why do you worry why do you worry about death when nothing ever ends? Like when there is no death. And in the dream, I was not prepared to hear that. And maybe even in real life, I'm not prepared to hear that right now. I mean, not that I expect to die anytime soon, but one never knows how much time you have. You just don't know. You never know. But the boy was reinforcing a point that I've heard other psychics say. It reminded me of something that Linda G said in her video one time when she had cancer. I believe her guide said something to her like, why are you scared of death when there is no death? Like, life is, because if we have immortal souls, then we go on forever. But but I struggle with that because it's entirely human of us to cling to what we know, and especially if you feel like you're in a stage of your life where you've built a lot of things and you are trying to enjoy the fruits of your labor, so to speak. The thought of it all going away, and even possibly some sense of loss of self or identity, is a scary thing, even if the core of us is immortal and we go on. It's still, there's a part of us that resists being taken apart or returned to the collective consciousness and sort of melted into it and losing our sense of self. Maybe that's what that is. I don't know. But I remember when Linda G would talk about it, and has many times, and her guides told her, like, why do you worry about death when there is no such thing as death with an immortal soul? And for her, that helped her to surrender to what was going to happen in her life, even if that meant that she was going to die. But then, of course, she didn't. And that was part of her awakening, and the next stage of her life as a psychic, and like starting the YouTube channel and all the comfort that she provided to all of us who watched her and the many other great psychics during the election year, when she kept saying, my gods are telling me Biden's going to win. Like, there's no way that 45 is going to return to office. And like, when I internalized that and really believed it, it really was comforting. So Linda did a great service to everybody with communicating what her guides had asked her to communicate. So coming back to my own dream, I don't love the message in my own dream that the boy delivered, where he said, why do you worry about death when there is no such thing?" Or whatever it was he said while he's playing with his little toy car. And but yet there must be some, I suspect that there is some truth in it, that worrying worrying about tomorrow, or worrying about the future that we really cannot, we definitely can't control it. I mean, we can hope and we can pray and we can try to manifest certain things in our life with our positivity and with our especially our altruism, but we don't really know what's going to happen any moment of the day or tomorrow. But yet his message was, don't worry about it because you're eternal. So I'm going to think about it a bit more and try to absorb it a little more without just immediately sort of rejecting that as like cosmic foo-foo, like, oh, easy for you to say from, the other side, that death isn't death, when we're here and we get so tied up in the physical world, understandably so, in these bodies, these physical bodies. But yet it was interesting. So I don't know what else to make of it, but I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on it for sure. And that's what I got for today. And now I'm going to go and see a movie with my family. And that's that. So yeah, that's all I got. Hope you're well. Take care. See you soon.